Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the TB&J podcast. With me today is my co-host, Troy Brittingham.
You are Jeff.
I am. Thank you. And we saw a movie, Troy. Remember we used to do that, like, all the time, every week?
Yeah, they say movies are back in a big way.
Movies are back in a big way. You know, Nicole Kidman was telling me that it's actually, like, we go to these theaters to laugh, to cry, to feel.
I kind of feel like heartbreak feels good in a place like that.
Yeah.
Almost like the heroes there are a part of ourselves that I forgot the fucking
It doesn't
name.
matter. You saw the
something,
title.
Something movies are real. Anyway, they're real here.
Because here,
Yeah,
they are.
We need to go to movies as a society, or we'll crumble.
We are here to discuss Godzilla -1. Okay. Now, before we get too far ahead, Troy, I would like to go through the movie experience that I went through from the beginning.
Sure,
if you don't want to listen,
I show up.
Hang on. If you don't want to listen to bullshit about trailers or whatever, skip ahead to the timestamp in the description of this video or podcast. I'm going to put a timestamp there. Click that. It'll boost you ahead to where we actually talk about Godzilla. Now, Troy. I went to the movie theaters by myself.
Sure.
I do that a lot.
Sure.
All right, there's a movie I want to see. The wife's not into it, so I'm just like, fuck it, I'll go by myself.
Also, we have a movie podcast, so I imagine that just happens sometimes too.
Yeah. I go to the movies quite often. I do it alone a lot. I'll sometimes take my wife. Okay, but by myself. I go to the movies, sitting down. All right, everything's fine. I'm all by myself. Got the row with the little bars in front of me, so I can put my feet up. Feeling pretty okay, pretty good about myself. And then the trailers start rolling, Troy, and fucking, if you ever needed to know that there was a Hollywood strike and a writer's strike, just watch these trailers before this movie, because none of them looked remotely watchable. Every single one looked like a hot, flaming pile of garbage. Every single one. The Beekeeper with Jason Statham. He's an actual beekeeper with this old lady friend who kills herself because all of her money got stolen in a phone scam because she's a dear, sweet old lady. And she answered the phone, and it was like, oh, my bank's telling me there's a problem. You guys can help with that, right? And they were like, we sure can. And then, pew, steal all your money. And then it cuts to, like, her hand on the floor next to a gun. And then he just shows up at their place of business and just pours gasoline all over the people and their desks and just lights them up.
First off, keep Jason Statham's name out of your goddamn mouth. He's a national treasure. We love him. They love The Transporter. We love.
Name another one.
He's in
so
Meg.
many movies.
He's in The Meg.
He's in The Meg. He's in The Meg 2.
He's in The Meg 2. He's in a couple of the Fast and Furious movies.
He's in the Mark Wahlberg version of The Italian Job with Charlize Theron as well.
That's true.
And Mos Def and Seth Green. They make up that little heisty crew, and Ed Norton's the bad guy. There's God fucking damn, that movie looked absolute dog shit. And then there's another movie where Sydney Sweeney, she's an actress who made it big on an HBO show called Euphoria, about high school kids doing drugs and having sex, and their lives are hard. I said it very dismissively. It's a great show. Anyway, she made it big on that show.
You're just trying to hide from the Euphoria fans that are rabid.
I mean, Zendaya's
like
the star.
It's like making fun of Taylor Swift.
Exactly. It's
white women will come to your door.
Pretty much in the same vein, except these are Zendaya stans. So nothing against you guys. Love you. Please like and subscribe. But Sydney Sweeney plays this woman who... Why does she need to be half naked in every single shot of this fucking trailer? Like, we get it. You have an attractive woman in your movie. Can you tell me something about what it's about? Oh, there's this guy that she can't stand, but they need to pretend that they're together so that her family will stop trying to set her up with her ex, and his something or other will stop bothering him. I don't even know what his deal was, but they have to pretend to like each other.
Which movie is this?
I don't remember the name of it. It was so fucking forgettable. I'm gonna look it up right now.
I don't know if I remember this trailer. I've seen a couple of them.
It just looked like absolute dog shit, and it was it's called Anyone But You. That's the name of the movie, and it's got Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell, and her name in the movie is Bea, or Bea, B-E-A, and his name is Ben. Oh man, you guys are really, really working off your asses there. Nothing about this movie even remotely interested me, and it feels like a movie that I've probably already seen before.
We're also in a moment right now where December is really being carried by Japan at the moment. We have like the Marvels and Wish as sort of our American contenders. I did see Wish in theaters, and Wish is it's
the lowest grossing animated Disney film.
I see
in a long
every time. I see every Pixar movie I can. It's there. I like them all. I expect to at least walk out kind of. I saw Elementals and thought it was fine. Like,
really?
I thought Elementals was okay. I don't think that it's great. I don't think that it's one of the worst Pixar movies, but I think Pixar is usually pretty good. I liked it more than like Frozen 2. And now Wish is pretty bad.
Yeah, it does seem like it's gonna be great. And then I had to sit through. Do
you know what Wish is about?
I do not.
Wish links the Disney Wishiverse all together. She becomes the fairy godmother, and you know how every Disney character makes wishes.
I guess
it explains the origin of the star that people make wishes on.
What?
That's real, yeah. Peter Pan is in the movie.
Oh my god.
Peter Pan's in the movie more than once.
Jesus Christ, that sounds terrible.
It's really bad. And Chris Pine is like sort of like a hammed up king villain, and I'm like, oh well, this is the perfect movie. Is Chris Pine is a hammy has a
I love
king.
Chris Pine, but like, come on.
And it's not good. It's not good at all.
Oh, surprise. And then I had to sit through a trailer for Argyle. Did you see that trailer?
Okay, so Argyle's not in the same vein as these.
It was a trailer that was shown to me as if it's a movie coming out in theaters that I would need to go see. But this woman, played by Bryce Dallas Howard, is writing these spy thrillers, and she lives with her mom, I guess, or talks to her mom a lot. I don't remember. And is it fucking what's his name? God, I'm drawing a fucking blank here. Hang on. It'll come to me.
Do you have a role?
The guy she meets on the train, and he's talking like, I'm a big fan and I work in espionage. I thought it was, what's his nuts?
Do you think it's Owen Wilson?
No, but in that vein.
Because I thought it was Owen Wilson. I don't know.
I didn't think it was Owen Wilson. The guy in the AI commercials. What's his fucking name?
The AI commercials?
Yeah. He was in a bunch of, he was in Failure to Launch. That's the only movie I can think of off the top of my head. Failure to Launch. Matthew McConaughey. How did I forget his name?
I don't think it is.
I also don't think it's Matthew McConaughey after looking at the cast list because he's not there. But she writes spy thrillers, and apparently they're coming true. So Bryan Cranston, as the bad guy, needs her to finish the novel so that he knows how it ends and he knows where to go, what to do, and this and that and the other thing. It looks absolutely terrible. And then I saw like it's an Apple original film, and I'm like, oh, okay. So you wrote this to be forgettable? Maybe? I don't understand why. It just seems so fucking bizarre, man.
It's Sam Rockwell, by the way.
Sam Rockwell was the guy. Okay. And then the worst part about that was I looked it up when I got home. It's directed by Matthew Vaughn.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew Vaughn, who did Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was a producer, but still, he also did Kick-Ass, a movie that is very near and dear to my heart. And X-Men: Days of Future Past, which is one of the best X-Men movies.
It's also true.
Like, and now that I'm looking at it here, also the original Kingsman, as well as the two sequels. Like, he's done good.
Well, he did Kingsman.
Kingsman, yeah. I said as well as the two sequels. Like, those are there. But like this movie doesn't feel. It just feels weird.
Listen,
man.
I'm just saying it's Matthew Vaughn. You got Henry Cavill. You have John Cena's in it. You have Bryan Cranston.
And that's the thing. It seems like one of those films where it's like, let's just put a bunch of A-list names in here for the sake of A-list names.
Mm-hmm.
Like fucking Babylon. That awful fucking movie about like Hollywood nonsense.
Was Babylon bad? I've never heard anything about it.
That's just it, right? If it was good, don't you think you would have heard something about it?
I don't know if that's true.
I mean, I don't remember it being good. Just a quick Google search here real quick. 2.8 stars on Google.
All right, that sounds not...
7 on IMDb. Where's your tomato score? Where is your tomato score? It's got a 57.
Okay.
So, like, it's exactly that. It was very forgettable. It wasn't great. It wasn't so bad that you remember it or saw it out of irony. It was just bad. It's also fucking 3 hours long. And you're gonna be a mediocre movie at 3 hours long?
You do have to be Oppenheimer or Lord of the Rings if you're gonna be 3 hours long.
Yeah,
that actually is a necessity.
It really is.
You kind of have to be the best movie.
Even my favorite Batman film in recent memory, The Batman, coming in at 3 hours and change, or 2:59, whatever it was.
You can cut a little bit.
You can cut a little bit. There's a little bit too much there.
I have been really building up. Like, I need to find a day to go watch Killer of the Flower Moon.
Oh, same, yeah.
Because it's one of those things that, like, people were like, yeah, Oppenheimer will probably win the Oscar, and then this movie came out, and people were like, this one's actually probably going to win the Oscar.
So I'm like, it's tough, man.
So I'm like, I should see it, but I don't have... I need to, like, prep a day to get to do it.
Oh, yeah.
I do want to see it. But...
Yeah. It is absolutely fucking insane.
And it's, like, going to be, like, not a fun... movie. It's like a true story. It's very sad. Like, I know it's not gonna be like, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, yeah, I came back and Flower Moon was actually a hoot and a holler and a good time.
Oh man, yeah, I laughed the whole way through. Yeah, and then when I went to the bathroom after the movie, there was a group of guys that saw Godzilla with me a few rows back. Clearly buddies together, and they were making fun of all the trailers. And I'm sitting there at the urinal, and I hear this guy behind me like, "Oi, I'm the fucking beekeeper." And I was like, yeah, he's probably going to say that in the movie. It's probably going to be a line he drops.
I have been making the joke that Beekeeper is the movie where Jason Statham stands around in a circle with a bunch of guys and then in the middle of a conversation starts punching them.
He did that like 4 times in the trailer.
It is the entire trailer. The entire trailer is...
him being surrounded by guys, they're talking, he says something smart, and then just starts beating them all up. He did it to a group of FBI guys with guns, none of them were able to shoot him? Are you kidding me? Trained federal agents couldn't just shoot this guy punching you guys? Aren't you trained for this exact scenario?
I just want that to be the whole movie, and there's just like people who just like gonna get caught in the crossfire. Like there's just like a bunch of teenagers talking about like, oh man, school is hard. He just starts beating them.
School is very important. You do your fucking homework. Oh my god, all of those trailers I had to sit through looked trash.
I have seen the Beekeeper trailer like 10 times now, just for being in front of every movie.
It's so trash, man. I literally do not understand it. I do not. Not.
But like I was saying, Japan is really carrying the box office right now because it has Godzilla -1 and then also The Boy and the Heron, which is
going to be our next movie we cover.
Supposed to be Miyazaki's last Ghibli movie, except for the time that he said that he was going to make another one still.
Yeah, he said this was the last one.
This was his 4th last one. So
yeah. All right. Well, if you're just joining us, it is time to talk about Godzilla -1 and not The Beekeeper. So, Troy, Godzilla -1, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up.
Is it? Are you sure?
I'm very, very sure. I am monumentally sure. I'm Godzilla size sure. Thumbs up.
You know what? I also have to agree with you. It's definitely a thumbs up. This movie, I went into it with 0 expectations. I knew that you had been talking it up, but I also know that you just enjoy a good kaiju movie, which is fine. They're fun.
I was going to ask, what is your Godzilla experience? What's
next to nothing.
Gotcha.
When I was a teenager and I moved into my brother's bedroom in our house, because he had just left for the service and I took over his bedroom. He had left his wall-mounted TV there. And when I say wall-mounted TV, this was a graduation gift he got in like 2003, 2004. So it was a square tube TV that was on a silver platform that connected to an arm that went into the wall. This thing was big and fucking heavy. It had like a safety strap that went over the top.
Uh-huh.
It had a built-in VCR DVD player.
Oh shit.
And
So you were living the high life.
I was living the high life. I went in the living room and scoured whatever tapes I could find that I thought might be fun, and I just watched VHS tapes in my room for a good long summer break in like 9th, 10th grade. And one of the ones I had was 1999 Godzilla with Matthew Broderick.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, "This is great."
The good one.
Yeah, is it? So when I was younger, I was like, "This is amazing." Another one of the movies that I watched on repeat in that bedroom was Spider-Man 3, which I also thought was really good at the time. And then I grew up and realized I had no taste in movies as a child.
I would go as far to say I haven't rewatched Godzilla. Spider-Man 3 is probably better.
Godzilla in 99's Godzilla doesn't make a lot of sense because they're like running through buildings hiding from it.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's Godzilla, you can't hide from it.
It's
it
also
just
the
destroys
movie.
cities.
It's also the movie where they shot at Godzilla a little bit and he ran away.
Yeah. Also that like that movie upon a more mature viewing, it does not hold up.
That being said, it did spawn a fucking kick-ass WB cartoon action show.
There was a Godzilla action show?
There's a whole like WB for kids animated Godzilla show, and apparently it was pretty fucking cool. But it was like tied to that movie.
Really?
Yeah, and it's like way better than that movie is.
That definitely sounds like something they would do in the 90s or early 2000s for sure. So that was really my only Godzilla knowledge. I knew that Godzilla has been one of those like ancient ass Hollywood, not Hollywood necessarily because this is a Japanese movie thing, but he's been around forever and ever and ever. I believe the first one is 1954, right?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. And then I knew of Godzilla. My other Godzilla knowledge I had was watching advertisements on cable when we had it of the Godzilla movie marathon on FX featuring Godzilla and Godzilla versus Mothra and Godzilla versus Son of Mothra and like all of these terrible sounding movies that there's no way they're real. And then I was like, actually, some of these are real. That's kind of weird.
Do you want to know my favorite title?
Go for it.
Godzilla versus Space Godzilla.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
is a real title.
You just unlocked a core memory.
Yeah.
I have another Godzilla piece of information.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being a child at my cousin's house, and there was a game on the GameCube where we played as different iterations of Godzilla fighting each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I always play as Space Godzilla because he had what looked like armor, and he had like a laser that came out of his mouth. And I was like, this is great. It's like a stupid, like, top-down, beat-em-up kind of thing. We were just destroying the city and beating the fuck out of each other as different Godzillas. I forgot about that game. Oh, man. I wonder how expensive that would be on eBay. It's got to be like $5, right?
I mean,
just
I
for a
know
nostalgia hit.
there's a lot of those ones specifically. I think that's like a series of games, but
Really?
I think so. Yeah, I think they tried to make another one kind of recently, and it's.
I was gonna say, is
fucking
Godzilla
terrible.
one of those icons that's been kind of like milked to death for a while?
Well, this is the 37th Godzilla movie.
Well, yeah. Like I said, the first one came out in 1954.
Yeah.
It's been 70 years of Godzilla. But, like, I imagine merchandise out the ass.
Oh, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And we are sort of in a Godzilla renaissance right now, because there's -1. There is a Apple TV show that is tied to the American Godzilla movies, and then there's a new Kong and Godzilla movie coming out in America, and like it's
That's not a real fight, right? Godzilla wins every time.
well, this is them being buddies. This is Godzilla X Kong, which I think should only be the title if they're dating. I think that they should give each other a little smooch in the middle.
Is
of the movie.
Kingzilla their ship name, or is it God Kong?
Ooh, I think Kingzilla is probably better.
Kingzilla's pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, but that movie looks like hot garbage. So okay,
Does it look like more hot garbage than fucking Transformers Beast Wars?
oh man,
With the giant monkey Optimus Prime?
I feel similar to Transformers than I do the American MonsterVerse Godzillas, and I know there's people who like them. Like it's
people
not
that like Transformers. Our fucking co-host D is
true.
one of them.
Yeah, but I don't think he likes the Michael Bay ones necessarily.
Yeah, fair enough.
But
D, defend yourself, bitch.
So I have sort of very, very recent Godzilla experience. I met him. He's actually much nicer in person than you think he'd be. No,
he's not. He's not just stomping around Tokyo.
Yeah, no. He's a great actor. He's not like that. No, but he's just got this massive like folding director's chair he's sitting in while he holds like a comically large can of like, I don't know, some sort of like Sprite or Fresca, and he's just sitting there like, yeah, I'm actually a pretty nice guy. I do charity work in my off time. I was kind of nervous to approach him. I was just like, well, that's Godzilla, dude. And he's just like, oh, no, please, any autographs?
You want a photo?
Yeah.
We can get a photo together real quick.
It's very inviting. Cool guy. King Ghidorah's a dick, though.
Now there are different Godzillas. There's like King Ghidorah. There is Gojira. Is that a different one?
No, Gojira is just what they call Godzilla in Japan.
Okay.
But so I have a little bit of Godzilla experience of, as a kid, I saw the 99.
I think we all did. I think it was just like a required viewing at some point.
Yeah, and if you're only 90s kids will remember. It's a very 90s kid movie.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it was PG-13 when it came out. It shouldn't have been 90s kids necessarily, but
But in 2016, 2017, Shin Godzilla comes out.
I remember that coming out, and I think you went and saw it, didn't you?
I didn't get to go see it. I wanted to see it, even though I wasn't a Godzilla person. There was something about that movie where I was like, I feel like I really want to see this. And then I bought it on DVD, not Blu-ray. They sold it on DVD in America.
Whoa!
And then
I mean, it was 2016.
Blu-ray
Blu-ray was definitely around. Never mind.
But so I ended up buying it, and I watched it at home, and
on your DVD.
Yeah, it's probably popped into an Xbox or something,
or a PS2.
Yeah,
nice.
But this movie was it's a lot slower than -1 is. It's very like people in board meetings talking to each other and then going into a different one and talking about it's a movie that's mostly about like, hey, did you get the clearance to move these trucks that have the material in it that we can use to defeat Godzilla? And he's just like, oh no, I didn't write down those forms yet. And then the person doing forms,
why are you fucking around bureaucracy? It's Godzilla. We have to stop him.
So that's sort of the whole thing. Is the movie is kind of a parody of how bad Japan is at doing relief for like earthquakes, and
most of the Godzilla movies are poking at Japan. Like, our country has been mishandled by its leaders. Even -1 does it a lot, actually.
I mean, yeah, original Godzilla is also an atomic bomb allegory. He's sort of shifted allegories to whatever sort of the current strife of Japan is at the time.
That was the one negative review I saw about this movie. Was a guy complaining that they didn't use Godzilla to be a metaphor for a more modern problem. They used it to instead go back in time and just reiterate the same stuff we already knew. Yeah. And it's like, dude, that's not... That's your gripe? That's why you gave the film a C? You're an idiot.
I have seen positive reviews talking about how a bunch of right-wing chuds like this movie because it's finally a movie that's not political. Godzilla.
Are you serious? Godzilla. Godzilla's not political. Oh my god. Are these the same fucking idiots that are like, oh, my comics were never political back in the day?
100%.
And it's like, did you ever crack open, I don't know, an X-Men? Ever? or a fucking. Blah, blah,
It's
blah.
the same people who, if this movie actually flopped, they would also say it's bad because it's political.
Or Star Trek's too woke now. It's like, oh, the show that had the first
That's
interracial
my
kiss
favorite
on
one.
screen.
That's my favorite one.
That show's too woke all of a sudden. Oh man,
I love people saying that Star Trek is too woke now.
they're so fucking stupid.
It's my favorite of all of them.
Star Trek's been woke and pro-communist since the 1960s. Go fuck yourself, you idiots. Jesus.
But so I watched Shin Godzilla.
Star Trek's great. Go watch it.
And Shin Godzilla is a much slower. There's like 3 Godzilla scenes in that whole movie.
In Shin Godzilla?
Yeah, it's like a very long, challenging, boring movie. I love it. It's great. Watch Shin Godzilla.
Okay.
But
I like a good long build up, especially because you don't want to blow your whole load with Godzilla right up front.
It's also done by the Neon Genesis Evangelion guy.
Oh, you mean the best anime of all time?
Yeah, it's done by him, and he makes Godzilla kind of an Evangelion monster in it. He's a little otherworldly and grotesque.
Funny enough, Shin Godzilla is a horror movie. It's advertised as a horror movie. It's also the same runtime as Godzilla -1.
I think all Godzillas are like air quotes technically horror movies, but
I mean, yeah, you've got a massive dinosaur thing that's just killing people.
yeah. I mean, maybe not some of the middle ones where it's like Son of Godzilla. But like I think if you look up most of them, they'll be classified as that.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched Shin Godzilla, loved it. And then kind of was like, maybe I'm a Godzilla guy, and started watching some Godzilla movies here and there, and I've seen all of the MonsterVerse American ones, the ones since 2014.
I was gonna say, so the 2014 had the Godzilla movie.
Yeah, that was
just
the one,
called Godzilla.
That's the one with Bryan Cranston. He dies immediately, and then you're replaced with a more boring cast of characters.
Wait, really? Bryan Cranston was built up in that movie. I remember the ads.
Bryan Cranston is in every single ad for that movie. He is in 15 minutes of it.
Is this like Scream when they killed Drew Barrymore in the first 10 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's kind of cool, I guess.
This was not cool. This was a not cool version of it. Also, it had Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen playing a married couple, even though now we know that's wrong because they're siblings in Age of Ultron. So that means it's bad now. We didn't know that at the time. But I watch all of those. 2014 is fine. I don't like the other 2.
Oh no.
I then start watching some of the older ones, and I watched the very first one, and the first one's like the 1954 Godzilla, and it's kind of boring because it was one of those things where I'm like, this is technically really impressive for 1954, but I'm someone living in 2023, 2022 at the time probably.
Mm-hmm.
This is not doing a whole lot for me. And kind of immediately was like, maybe I'm not a Godzilla person. But for some reason, I just stuck with them, and I have watched Godzilla Raids again, and then I'm watching them in order now. And I will watch them all, whether or not I'm a Godzilla person or not. The next one I have to watch is King Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster. Which I'm very excited for because I remember my grandparents, when I was born, made a little side room, that was like a toy room for me.
Oh,
and it means a lot to me now as an adult. I don't know if it meant as much to me then, but I specifically remember having a King Ghidorah toy and not really knowing what it was. And when I kind of figured out it's a Godzilla thing, I was like, oh, I like this guy. And then I kind of figured out that he's the main Godzilla villain. He's in the most movies as an antagonist.
Okay.
He's the Godzilla Joker.
Oh. Oh no.
So I'm kind of all about Ghidorah now. So I'm excited to see the actual first Ghidorah movie soon. But I associate that room with that character for some reason.
Interesting.
So I am sort of. And then this movie comes out. I immediately am like, I turned to a bunch of friends. I'm like, we're seeing this in IMAX. And then I saw it in IMAX. And our friend Caitlin, friend of the pod, who has been on a few episodes.
Sure.
Couldn't make it. So then I went immediately back to the theaters and watched this again in theaters. And I think I'm pretty solidified in the I think I'm a Godzilla guy again camp.
So I'm looking at all of the movies, and there's like one or two that are really low, but most of them have like a 6 or a 7.
Mm-hmm.
So none of them are just like absolute dog shit. So like maybe we need to watch all the Godzilla movies.
I do have a hot take. Kong vs. Godzilla, the original one, that's my least favorite one so far.
That's one of the lower rated ones. The lowest is All Monsters Attack.
All Monsters Attack,
1969. Yeah, that's and that's sitting at a 4. But like most of them have like a 6, 6.5, 5.5. Like they're all like middling.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I and then Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire comes out next year.
And King Kong comes out of a hole at one point and has a big power fist glove. And
Shut up.
I don't know what that's all about. They fight a bigger monkey.
Oh!
They're going to fight a bigger monkey, and rumor is maybe a bigger Godzilla.
Oh.
Also, Godzilla's pink now, and a bunch of internet people are very, very mad at it for some reason.
So including Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire that comes out next year. Across America and Japan, there are 38 Godzilla movies.
38 with
38 will be Godzilla X Kong.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of movies. Is that a record?
Do you know that the new American MonsterVerse Godzillas? There's a big plot point around the Hollow Earth. In the next one, they go down to the Hollow Earth.
No.
There's a whole scene in Kong vs. Godzilla.
Is that Godzilla King of the Monsters? 2019?
No, I think Godzilla vs. Kong is the one that adds the Hollow
Godzilla
Earth.
vs. Kong 2021?
Mm-hmm. When that movie has a scene where they're fighting in Tokyo, Godzilla's in Tokyo, and King Kong is in the Hollow Earth, and there's like 45 minutes of movie left, and you're like, well, how are they gonna meet up and fight? They haven't fought in a while. And Godzilla atomic breaths all the way to the center of the earth and then looks down at King Kong and does an evil, like, supervillain laugh. And then King Kong climbs up out of the hole from the center of the earth in, like, 2 minutes. And then they fight in Tokyo.
You're lying.
This movie is insane.
I don't believe you. You're lying to me.
They have like a black Alex Jones character in the movie.
You're not allowed to lie on a podcast, Troy. It's the law.
They have like a black Alex Jones character who's like talking about like, I work at this place and I'm going to steal some equipment and I know about the Hollow Earth.
And they're turning the frogs gay.
And Millie
I'll eat my neighbors.
Yup. And Millie Bobby Brown watches his podcast.
Millie Bobby Brown?
Millie Bobby Brown's in these movies, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wish she had better options.
I'm sure she got paid quite a bit for this one.
I literally just went like, oh, these all are like middling reviews. They don't seem like any of them are complete stinkers. And then I was like, oh, Millie Bobby Brown, why are you in this movie? Get out of here.
Yeah, I will watch the new one too, is my problem. I'm a sick freak.
Alexander Skarsgård is in this?
Yeah, dude. They shouldn't be this bad, but they are.
What?
And here's the thing. I have noticed a phenomenon, and I'm of two minds of it. Because I've been deep diving Godzilla's stuff. Every time I watch one of the old movies, I look up videos around it to be like, oh, what's the cultural relevance of this, and like what was going on in Japan at the time of this being made. Oh, what's with the weird American versions of all these? 'Cause I'm specifically trying to watch the American versions or the Japanese versions. I mean, and I have noticed a thing where basically Godzilla fans will kind of take any Godzilla, which is wild because they get a lot of it.
Yeah.
And it seems like a thing where like I will listen to a bunch of Godzilla fans talk about what I think is the most dog shit movie, and they're like talking about it and there's like lore behind it and they love that shit and they eat it up. And a while ago I was kind of like Godzilla fans are a little delusional. Now in 2023, when people make a big deal about fucking Cad Bane's nose and Boba Fett and make a 45-minute video about they don't like Cad Bane's nose, I'm sort of like, I'm actually kind of okay with there being one fan base that I'm kind of sort of a part of that's just kind of a blind devotion. Like I'm almost like, it's almost refreshing to go to like an r/Godzilla and it's a bunch of people being like, this shit looks super cool, and I'm like, yeah, you be excited for it then. It's like, it seems like one of the few fan bases that's like untainted by like this very cynical internet that we're a part of right now.
So another question I had for you, if you know the answer. Godzilla movies, I believe all of them are owned by Toho Studios, correct?
I think that there's a weird kind of middle part where there's a TriStar acquisition and then it goes back to Toho. But I think they might both be in there somehow. Toho's the original and Toho is now. I don't know I think there's a middle
there's like
point.
A break in the middle or somewhere?
But I think Toho still might be involved. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I know Toho is currently.
Yeah,
holding.
and then the 4 new American ones, the MonsterVerse ones with him and Kong, are Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And then I don't know about the 98 version or 99 version.
Okay, I believe that one is also Warner Brothers, if memory serves.
Mm-hmm.
But
makes sense.
I remember when I was reading about Godzilla -1, the director, and I would love to give all
there's
of
going to
these
be a
names.
lot of bad naming in this
Yeah.
episode. We're going to apologize right now to any Japanese or any Asian audience in
We're
general.
not
going to get them right.
I'm an ignorant white guy. I apologize for not being able to pronounce these names correctly. But Takahashi Yamazaki, the director, first of all, director, writer, also lead on visual effects team. Like, this guy did everything in this movie except act. Like, this guy was all over Godzilla -1, and it fucking shows. This movie is an absolute labor of love to Godzilla and the fan base, and a wonderful story about just rebuilding Japan in the wake of World War II. And then just this insurmountable fucking Godzilla that shows up, and I was gonna try to say like a metaphor for Godzilla, but I was like, no, just say Godzilla. Just say Godzilla. He is a metaphor. But this movie was so brilliantly well done, and I was reading about Takahashi taking on the movie, and he said that Toho approached him and offered him to direct a Godzilla movie, and he felt so honored. And he was like, this is amazing. This is all I've wanted to do as a director. This is fantastic. And I wonder if that's why the fan base is as devoted as it is. Like, everybody that seems to have a hand in making these movies does it out of love.
Mm-hmm.
On the Japanese side of things, I can't speak for the American side of things because I'm a little more cynical about Warner Brothers, especially recently.
Why Warner Bros? What happened?
Nothing. We're big Zaz heads on this podcast.
We're Zazzies.
Yeah, we're Zazzies. We love fucking Zaslav up in this house.
Right.
Fuck that guy forever. But I wonder, like, personally, I see each movie as its own, almost a love letter from the director to Godzilla or to the fan base. Like, this is my vision of what I think this monster could be. Here you go. Share in my vision with me. And of course we all do, because it's just, it's fucking amazing. Why would you not? Right?
Mm.
Like, it feels so awesome to see what this one guy who wrote and directed all of it and did most of the visual effects on, like, to see his vision come to life is so amazing and so beautiful. There's like a minute or two where I'm like, that CGI could have been better, but most of it looks phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And on a fucking less than $15 million budget. Like, Marvel gets blank checks and doesn't look this good. Come on now. This was absolutely amazing. Lots of love went into this movie, and it's seeping out of every orifice of this film. It's great.
The main
That was a really strange way to describe it.
Seeping out of every
love seeping out of every orifice of this movie. That's really what my brain just spouted out.
I was gonna let it go, but
oh God, I wish I could. That's gonna like keep me awake tonight. I'm gonna be laying in bed replaying this in my head. Oh God.
But
Ugh.
the thing that's crazy
I'm
about
so sorry. I'm just sorry.
but the thing that's crazy about this movie is
The big dinosaur.
yeah, it's fucking wild.
Dude.
It's so big.
It's so big.
How did they get him to do all that stuff?
It just stomps all over the people.
yeah, and like I said, nice guy.
Nice guy.
He doesn't
Brilliant
actually
guy.
stomp on people.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know he visits cancer kids.
Oh.
Cancer kids? Kids with cancer. Cancer kids. I'm just I'm firing on all cylinders, baby.
you them cancer kids?
You spend the week with those cancer kids? That's fucking dope, man. Good on you, Godzilla.
But
why did we turn him into an Italian from
I
Jersey?
don't know. I have no idea.
Yo, Godzilla, where's the gabagool, eh? This is just terrible. I apologize to multiple people.
But what was I saying? Oh, the thing that is crazy about this movie actually is the human characters are every other Godzilla movie. You can kind of just be like, it's a big lizard and he's stomping on stuff, like at a base level.
Sure.
And like there's characters that are like I've heard people talk about this, and some people are underselling. Like there's some pretty okay human characters in other Godzilla movies. But for the most part, you're there for Godzilla. And everybody's always surprised anytime they watch a Godzilla movie where they're just like, oh, I looked at there's actually like 12 minutes of Godzilla in this movie. He's out of it for most of it. And it's every single time a Godzilla movie comes out, people say that.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, that's not really the point of it.
No, the point is the human characters.
Nobody complains about this movie having that because everybody in this movie is so fucking good.
Dude. Oh my God. I cried my eyes out so many times.
It is the only Godzilla movie I have seen so far where I can still name every single character. I can name literally every single character who's had a name, except for there's a captain that is on...
the captain?
Not the captain. Him, I can name the captain and the kid from their nicknames. But there's an actual like ship captain that's with them at the end. He's the only one
guy.
He's the only one whose name that I don't know. Everybody else's name, I know them or at least their nickname.
Yeah. I'm not quite at that level, but I only saw it once, and I was very distracted. I kept crying, and they don't drop names a whole lot. But it's just, God, this movie fucking tugs at all of your heartstrings, and. Personally, I can speak for myself. I don't know if I can speak for you. Just seeing the aftermath of Japan that they were going through after their entire island nation had just been obliterated. So many towns destroyed. And they don't even show the nuclear disaster sites either. They only show towns that just like got burned or carpet bombed with just regular old B-52s. And just seeing them rebuilding and persevering, I just felt such a deep pain for these people and a deep shame for the nuclear weapons that got dropped on them.
Yeah. So the first
so awesome and dramatic. I say awesome in the sense that it was awe-inspiring within me.
The original term of
yeah,
awesome.
Not like totally awesome, dude.
Yeah, radical.
Yeah, it was so radical seeing all these people living out of half a house.
That was weird. That's also what you said with Oppenheimer. You're like, it's totally super cool and radical.
Totally
and I love
super
it. You got a
cool,
tattoo
dude.
of the guy afterwards. That
I
was
totally did. My whole back is just a big Oppenheimer piece, bruh. And I got all the bombs back there. I'm sure he'd love it if he was still alive. Totally, bruh.
That was actually the thing that he said after the bomb. He was just like, "You guys see that sick bomb I dropped?" And then he did a kickflip on his skateboard.
He was like, "Dudes, I am become death, bruh."
I am become rad. Kick with this kickflip. Yeah.
See, rad because it works because it's also radiation.
It's radiation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why. That's actually where that word came from.
You were making a point. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say the first half of this is very original Godzilla, where it's kind of like everything is kind of the original Godzilla movie is like pretty dour and depressing, and it's not. There's
yeah.
not a whole lot of hope. The guy that actually like eventually kills him blows up the oxygen destroyer, and it also kills him. So it's like not a happy ending to the movie at all. It's just like, oh, we beat Godzilla, and now we have to rebuild Japan again, and then the movie ends. And then the second movie is Godzilla Raids Again, and the second half of this movie is very Godzilla Raids Again. There's no Anguirus, which is the first sort of monster that he ends up fighting.
Mm-hmm.
The second movie is very much like, even kind of while Godzilla's destroying stuff, they're like, there's people who are like, yeah, we're gonna like live our lives, and we're like, it's more of a movie about like moving past, like we've already kind of coped with the fact that the atomic bomb happened with the first movie. The second movie's more of, we can now live and move on and rebuild and live life after that.
Mm-hmm.
Funny enough about that movie, sort of spoilers for this movie, but we're gonna spoil it anyway. Godzilla Raids Again ends with a guy crashing his plane and dying in and causing an avalanche that stops Godzilla.
That's very similar to what this movie does.
But that guy actually dies in that crash. And it was kind of a big from what I understand.
Spoiler.
Sorry for this movie from 1955. But that movie was kind of, from what I understand, from what I've heard in like other people's videos and stuff like that, apparently heroic depictions of kamikazes were kind of taboo at the time in Japan.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And it was kind of a big deal that they had that scene in general. So to have it in this movie, but kind of flipped the other way, where it's like, no, we're gonna do. This movie kind of is like, we made an amazing movie. We're gonna kind of have our cake and eat it too, and kind of make it where it's almost a happy ending across the board with the hint of bad things happening.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, pretty much every character kind of gets a happy ending in this one.
Yeah, even when we thought that the woman had died.
Nokika.
Like, she was not dead. She was just in the hospital. And like I always say, the second you put cell phones in a movie, a lot of these shitty plot points vanish. I'm just kidding. It's fucking 1947, 8, whatever it is.
I also feel like I would have kind of eye-rolled this. Eye-rolled her surviving in any movie that wasn't as good as this. It was kind of like, I was more happy that she survived and like interested about the weird. She caught Godzilla virus or something like that at the end of this movie, whatever that is. I was, as soon as she's like alive, I was like, oh no, I'm all about it. I'm happy she's fine. But any other movie, I'd be like, all right, well actually the atomic blast, she'd be vaporized.
Maybe. Yeah, most likely. I think it was more the shock wave from the blast. Yeah, okay. It wasn't like a direct blast. And was it confirmed that it was like radiation blast? I know that historically it's a radiation blast from Godzilla.
Yeah, I think
and they just kept calling it its heat ray.
Yeah, they were going through with Geiger counters and stuff like that later in the movie.
Okay. But fucking this whole goddamn movie is so freaking good, man. So freaking good. And the payoff at the end when the mechanic tells Tachibana tells our hero Koichi, I think his name is
Koichi Shakashima. His name is said a whole lot.
Yeah, he was like, I also put in the ejector seat, like pull that lever so you can live. And it's just like, oh, they foreshadow it for sure, because it cuts away and he's like, oh, let me show you one more thing. It's like, all right, well, clearly he's showing you the ejector seat, and you're definitely going to live. And it was just so amazing. And they faked us out too with him giving away like all of his cash to the neighbor lady and saying like, please take care of my daughter for me. Like it was so set up. And it was also a great, I'm sorry, my mind's all over the place. I'm just remembering so many amazing parts of this movie, but it was a pretty good depiction as well of just the PTSD of coming home from World War II and just living with that nightmare in your head over and over and over again. And him asking the little grave markers of his parents, like, is it okay if I move on? Is it okay if I dream again? Like, oh my God, dude. Oh my God, so heavy shit. Great stuff, but oh my gosh. I almost didn't see this movie yesterday. I was almost like, I'll just tell Troy I couldn't get there in time.
Right.
But then I was sitting on the couch, I was wide awake, and I was like, well, the only showing tonight in my area is at 8 o'clock. It's 7:50. I might as well just go, right? So I did, and I was like, I guess I'll see this Godzilla movie, and I ended up crying. I ended up like almost jumping out of my seat for a second. There was a part of the movie when it gets like super quiet, when Godzilla's about to let off its heat ray and just obliterate the boats in the ocean. I caught myself holding my breath, and then I was like, "Oh, breathe, bro, breathe." It was so fucking good.
There's a whole scene where Koichi's flying the bomber plane or the bomber destroyer plane at the end, and
the tail wing.
Yeah, and Godzilla's just like swiping at it and flinging its tail at it, and I was physically dodging in my seat as if I was also like, as if I had a bearing on the plane being missed.
You're like the little 5-year-old who's playing like Forza, and you're like leaning left and forth.
Right. And I do. I also, every time I watch a movie, I have that little steering wheel in my front seat. I think it gives me control.
Yeah. You have to.
Right.
It's the rules.
Right. How else will Luke Skywalker get to the end of the Death Star without me?
Absolutely, you have to help him.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only way.
Mm-hmm. How will Dominic Toretto save his family this time if I'm not there to help him?
It's all about family.
I'm sort of a member of his family, I think.
Do you remember that one movie when he was modifying a car and he put a bunch of really dangerous shit in it, and somebody called him out on it, and he was like, "Doesn't matter, it only needs to go a mile." Like, what?
Remember when in like the third or fourth movie, when Han is in a car accident and dies, and then every movie past that, people are flying out of helicopters and planes and landing on
or
the
driving a car out of a plane onto a building.
People will fly out of
Have
off
they been
of a
to
cliff.
space yet?
They have been to space.
I knew it.
People have flown off of cliffs and landed on the hood of a car, and the hood of the car broke their fall. And I'm like, that's metal.
Not how breaking a fall would work at all. You're just like a human puddle at that point. Or maybe your skin is intact, but everything inside you is jelly.
God, they're so fucking good. All those movies are so fucking good. We need to do a Fast
They're
and Furious
perfect
watch.
dad movies.
We have to do a Fast and... They're not even that. They're something. They're a different breed. We should watch Fast and Furious at some point for the podcast.
For 10 coming out soon, or Fex.
It will be... No, Fast X is already out. Next one will be 11.
Oh my god!
And apparently there's only supposed to be one or two more.
Oh, they've been saying that for a decade.
But this one, maybe. They got The Rock back.
They keep making money. They're gonna keep making Fast and Furious movies.
That's
the secret. It's like Adam Sandler movies. They keep getting made because people watch them.
No, It's gonna be the end of the.
Troy, let me introduce you to a concept called capitalism. If you make it, they will buy it.
What's the name of a what's like a trilogy, quadrilogy, but for 12?
Overkill. That's all it is. It's just the Fast and Furious collection at this point. It's gonna be one of those infomercials on at 2:00 in the morning for old people, and it's like, order all of the movies now for 4 easy payments of $29.95 plus shipping and handling.
All I'm gonna say is 5 through 7, unironically super good.
Tokyo Drift was unironically super good.
The original one, Tokyo Drift, 5 through 7. Those are the good ones.
Yeah.
There are other ones. 10 is actually pretty good.
Do you have any gripes with this movie at all?
I have super minor ones that
My only gripes are some scenes where the CGI looked a little off, but I was immediately brought back into it like a scene later.
I have a few gripes of just, there's a whole lot of people who it really seems like Godzilla snuck up on. Like when they're in the city or at the end, there's like a farm that gets kind of stomped, and there's people evacuating the farm as Godzilla's reaching it. And I'm like, hey, he can't really sneak up on you, right? Like you kind of gotta.
I think I might have an explanation for that.
Okay.
So in defense of that, so the farm was right up on the water.
Okay.
So he climbed out of the water onto their farm, and the Japanese government was not telling anyone about Godzilla except the little strike crew that knew about it because they witnessed it and they were there to fight it. So like when Godzilla was coming back, it was pretty much kept under wraps except for the little defense team that knew.
Mm-hmm.
So like they knew he was coming out of the water there, but nobody else did. And maybe they should have told those people.
Sure.
That's a different conversation to have, but I can understand how it happened.
Yeah, there's just a little bit too much people stopping and looking back and staring at Godzilla.
What's his deal with Japan, man?
I don't know.
Just hates Japan?
Yeah, next one. What place do you want me to stomp on next? It can't be America. It can't be Japan.
Okay, go to like London.
London?
I mean, geographically, Britain is not very big left to right.
Mm-hmm.
You could get across it as Godzilla pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Water on both sides, deep enough for you to swim in. Why would you not just go after the UK, man?
I'm thinking, where do I want to see
the UK
Godzilla?
and Ireland. I don't want to seem like I'm a Irish erasure. The Ireland's not part of the UK.
Oh, so you want them to be stomped by a big Godzilla monster? Is what you're saying?
Yes, but I want to make sure that I specify Ireland and the UK, and not
Gotcha,
just say
gotcha.
UK to mean both islands.
Where do I want to see
London,
Godzilla?
Scotland, Wales, and Ireland, and then Northern Ireland is different.
I want to see Godzilla in Canada.
England, not London.
And as he's kind of stomping through Canada, they're just sort of like, we got to kill this big lizard, and they're just like, no, actually, no, I changed my answer. I was gonna make a Canadian polite joke, but I have a funnier one. I want a Godzilla in Australia, and he just kind of just dies to all the natural wildlife in Australia.
They kill him, and some guy's just driving through the outback in his Jeep,
they
and he's
just
like,
they
"Oh,
just,
crikey, there's a big ass lizard here."
Yeah, they just find a giant dead crocodile and got in the middle of the outback, and they're just like, "What happened here?"
Yeah, what the bloody hell happened here? That was a terrible accent.
Well,
I'm
looking at the statistics. All of the Australian viewers just stopped listening. That's weird.
I'm gonna call that character Nikki the Aussie. Gonna work.
What did
on
Nikki the Aussie think of Australia? What Godzilla?
Oh, bloody brilliant, mate!
Now,
Crikey! You have a bloomin' onion at the Outback Steakhouse. Throw a shrimp on the barbie.
I like that. What'd you say his name was? Nikki the
Aussie. Yeah.
I like the fact that his only he just lives in an Outback Steakhouse and doesn't know anything about real Australia.
Well, no, I live in the Outback Steakhouse. I have my bloomin' onion and I drink a Foster's every day. Even Australians don't like Foster's. It's such a shitty beer, but it's made in Australia. Anyway,
is his favorite movie Mad Max?
No.
Oh,
La La Land.
Oh, I'm sorry. I stereotyped.
Yeah. How dare you? How dare you?
I should be better.
You should.
I can try to be better, Nikki.
It's actually that terrible animated movie that came out in like 2007, Kangaroo Jack.
Okay, first off,
do you remember
Kangaroo Jack out of your mouth? Kangaroo Jack is a masterpiece.
Keep Kangaroo Jack's name out your fucking mouth.
You came for Jason Statham today. You came for Kangaroo Jack, and you need to fucking check yourself. You need to examine yourself, look at yourself in the mirror, and really try to decide if this is sort of the path you're going to go
Kangaroo
down.
Jack, 2003. Anthony Anderson's in that movie. Christopher Walken is in that movie.
Yep. Christopher Walken.
Michael Shannon.
Do you know the story of Kangaroo Jack? This is not a Kangaroo Jack podcast, but
Kangaroo Jack is a 2003 buddy comedy directed by David McNally.
This isn't what I'm asking. Do you know the story behind how Kangaroo Jack happened? Allegedly?
No.
Allegedly, it was like a crime mafia movie that was so fucking boring that they were gonna just shelve it, and then somebody just went, just put like an animated kangaroo in it and then make it PG, and that's what allegedly what happened.
Shut up.
And it's like, why like Michael Shannon and like Christopher Walken are in like this kids movie that doesn't make sense. Because also, if you watch that movie, it's painfully obvious that there's a bunch of scenes where the kangaroo is just kind of in a scene on its own, on like a CGI background, not interacting with the characters, and then it cuts to the characters reacting to whatever he does.
Jesus Christ.
It's fascinating if you watch it again knowing that.
Oh my God. I'm just reading about this movie. It had a budget it made money. It made $89 million on a budget of $60.
Of course it did. It's Kangaroo Jack. It's a cultural phenomenon. It swept the nation.
Oh, yeah, right.
Kangaroo
I'm so sorry.
Jack sweep.
I'm so sorry. What else do you want to talk about with Godzilla -1? We've gone on a couple tangents.
Do you think that the sequel for this movie is going to be Godzilla +1, and he is invited as a +1 to somebody's wedding, and it's a Godzilla trying to act all awkward in a big giant suit just kind of at the wedding?
No, I he's a nice guy. He donates to charity.
Mm-hmm.
He hangs out with cancer kids.
Mm-hmm.
I think the next one, honestly, is going to be like Godzilla 0, because you can go from -1 to 0 pretty easily, and just having the title of 0 sets you up to do basically whatever you want. And like Godzilla 0 is a great starting ground for a reboot. I mean, it's very obvious Godzilla's going to be back. We saw the cells regenerating at the end. They left the door nice and open for a sequel.
You know what is wild? They made this instead of a sequel to Shin Godzilla, which is also kind of a reboot. They kind of did 2 reboots back to back for some reason, even though Shin Godzilla made money.
Now, is it a reboot, or is it more what I believe your Mad Max theory is, of just different stories within like the Godzilla?
This one
tome.
For sure is a reboot. The other ones are more like literally the original Godzilla dies, and then the second one they're just like, oh, it's another Godzilla. And like that's
it's
literally
another Godzilla.
that's
They just went to the store and was like, oh, they just grab another Godzilla.
Yeah, they literally just found a second Godzilla, and the second Godzilla is the one that's in most of the other ones.
Did they find him in the way that they do those like stupid like swapperoos? Like Fred Flintstone ran into this like company executive that looked just like him, so they switched spaces, and he got to live as a regular man, going bowling and drinking, while Fred had to answer the phones. And I imagine that.
Yeah, and Godzilla had to answer the phone. It was a tiny little phone.
Godzilla has like a doppelganger who's just like sitting on a beach enjoying a pina colada, and someone's like, "Oh, Godzilla!" and he's just like, "Excuse me, no, I'm Terry. My name's Terry. Hi." So, hi guys, I'm on the local disc golf team.
And then they fly a plane into his mouth and his head explodes.
This is all a big misunderstanding. Ah.
Oh, I do. I do have something to talk about. You're Jeff. You're it's a small secret. You're a tad bit of an emotional guy.
Oh. Yeah, it's not a small secret.
What were some of the scenes that you cried at? I have one specifically that both times I watched it I was a little watery.
Several times I like started like doing the heaving bit, where I like started to like my body was physically crying, but not like there was no water coming out of my eyes. I was just like shaking a little bit. I don't know how else to describe it. It's a really weird thing.
No, I get what you mean. Your body gets like a little like not hot, but like around the face a little.
Yeah. And I start getting a little emotional and well up. God, there were so many times. When Godzilla's about to destroy the boats in the harbor sticks out. When I saw our hero parachuting down after he had ejected from the plane, that got me a lot. When he went and saw the woman in the hospital bed, presumably he's gonna wife her up. Just them being reunited, I was just a mess. I was just openly weeping, all over myself. It was such a mess. I'm glad I went to the movies alone. God, there were so many different scenes that really just fucking hit me.
The one that got me both times was
because you've seen it twice.
After after all of them are making their plan to defeat Godzilla, and the doc tells everybody to go home, and basically gives a whole speech like, no, we're not going to sacrifice anybody. As soon as they're leaving, the kid, who is his whole character, is basically like, he like really wants to help. He's never been in war, and like there's this scene where they're basically like, not being in war is a good thing.
Yeah, they say not having gone to war is something to be proud of.
Mm-hmm. And they're like, they're like, you really, really want to go to war? You should not want to go to war. Like, it's not.
Yeah, been there, done that. Got the T-shirt. It sucks.
Yeah, you have a much better life ahead of you with way more opportunities if you do not do this.
Seeing Doc and the captain walk away and smiling to each other as Doc and the captain, they kind of agree, we are leaving him the future.
Mm-hmm.
Like that thinking about it now, I'm starting to get a little misty-eyed.
Him yelling, take me with you, over and over again was definitely a thing where I'm just like, oh, fuck, man.
Yeah, I'm seriously getting a little emotional right now remembering it from last night. It's such a powerful fucking scene, man. And anybody of that age who lived through that can absolutely relate to that. All any 18 to 19-year-old kid in America wanted to do that during that time was enlist. All anybody that age in any country wanted to do was enlist. They wanted to help their country. It's so like deeply in you to just help your country, and you have these older guys saying, "No, you can't. Trust us. This is a terrible idea. We're doing it because somebody has to, but you really need to stay. You need to be the future." It's so fucking, oh gosh, oh no.
On a less emotional, serious note, the other thing that I have to talk about is I forgot. This movie is the one that really made me grapple with one fact. I have always sort of been under the impression, in all other Godzilla movies, that he was just so big that he was just walking on the ocean floor up to Japan. Yeah. And this is the first movie that I have to contend with the reality that he is just kind of kicking his little feetsies in the water when he's kind of stood up like that. Like he's kind of just kind of paddling.
Do you know
those
how
guys.
Big he is?
Yeah, I do. I'm just I just in the framing of the other movies, especially the older ones, I'm always just sort of like, he's walking out of the water because he's so big he can touch the ground. And this is the first one where, like,
I mean, once you get closer to shore and you start walking on the continental shelf, you can walk up on shore. But deep ocean, especially where the oh shit, you know what? They actually had a bit in when they were first revealing like Godzilla walking around in the ocean after the initial attack on Odo Island, where and they have Godzilla sinking the USS Indianapolis, which in history it was sunk by a couple of Japanese torpedoes, and it sunk to the bottom of the ocean. And it remains one of the deepest shipwrecks in American history, and I believe it's one of the biggest marine disasters in American history as well. The crew members from the USS Indianapolis made like a human raft out of each other, and they were floating in the ocean for 3 days before they got rescued. In that time, they went absolutely fucking crazy from sun exposure and dehydration. There was a mutiny among the crew where they believed the Indianapolis was just under the surface of the water, fully repaired, waiting for them. So they tried to get everybody to go underwater to go get it. Clearly, it's not there. You're just going to die. Mm-hmm. And some of them were like...
I mean, technically, it is right under the water. It's just lot of water.
Some of them were waiting for their crewmates to fall asleep in the water, and then they would stab them and try to kill them to eat them. Mm-hmm. It got really, really fucking dark and terrible. And then those survivors finally got rescued. When they got pulled out of the water, their skin was so saturated with water, it sloughed right off. It is one of the biggest marine disasters in American history.
That may have been the most disgusting thing I've heard on this podcast.
Dude, I highly recommend if you want to, like, if you're into, like, I don't know, war stories and shit like that, go read about the USS Indianapolis. It's a really fascinating read. And they were just like, oh, Godzilla did that. And I was like, oh, shit, that's actually, like, really cool. Whoa, excuse me.
And you believe it happened in real life, too? You believe Godzilla?
Godzilla did it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Clearly the torpedoes was
I don't believe it because Godzilla, like I said, Godzilla seems like a nice guy.
the survivors were paid off by the Japanese government to say that it was torpedoes and not Godzilla.
Mm.
They were,
I just think Godzilla was too nice of a guy to do that. I don't believe that.
Smaller fun fact. Some of those survivors got interviewed decades later, I believe in the late 90s or early 2000s for a documentary. There were a couple of them that said they can never, ever go to the beach ever again. They start shaking and having violent flashbacks. And some of them don't even take baths. They find other ways to clean themselves. They cannot be in the water ever again.
That's pretty fucked up.
Dude.
I can't handle that. This is a lot of information that
I watched that documentary on YouTube. It was like an hour and a half long. I was glued to the screen. I couldn't stop watching. It's so disgustingly, terribly fascinating.
This is information that I will immediately lock away and not try to remember. That's so fucked up.
Yeah, it's fucked up. Anyway. I'm a big history nerd, so when they were like the USS Indianapolis was sunken, they believe it was Godzilla. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Also, you're speaking American for like 2 seconds in this movie, and then we're back to Japanese with the subtitles. I'm also not directly tied to the movie. I'm also annoyed that they haven't announced like an American distribution partner. Like, there's no plans for a streaming release or an American DVD to be released.
Interesting.
At least not yet. Which is...
I mean, this is the most widely spread a Japanese Godzilla got theatric release here that I know of.
Yeah, probably. I think Shin Godzilla was Japanese as well.
Shin Godzilla got like a few select screenings, but it was a little bit harder to get tickets than this.
This one is in
this one got an extended.
This one got an extended release, and it's I think 1,000 screens across the country.
Something like that.
Yeah, I know that there's 2 within like driving distance of my house that had it, but beyond that, it was like a bit of a hike to the next available movie theater that had an available screening. And even so, the one next to my apartment that we go to all the time, they only had 1 each day. And it wasn't even like they weren't filling it, because like the theater I went to last night was actually halfway full. It was pretty decently packed.
Oh, yeah. People are seeing this.
Yeah, like I was impressed. I was like, people are going to I went on a Monday night at 8 o'clock, and there's like fucking 25 people in this theater that aren't me. That's pretty impressive. I was like, holy shit, man.
Yeah, I did. There was like a pre-early event screening that was supposed to be, I think, the only IMAX screening. It is now no longer the only IMAX screening.
I was gonna say that seems like a huge mistake.
And it was supposed to be like we're gonna do one IMAX screening, and then for big Godzilla fans, and then we're going to turn it to only standard. And then it got the extended release and a bunch of IMAX things. When I watched it there, it was completely packed, and then when I saw it the second time, it was completely empty. So it was like, I was wondering what the longevity of this was looking like. But when I saw it the first time, I had to go see it in Jersey, because a bunch of the screenings that I saw for IMAX were already, like, basically filled.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's impressive. But at the same time, people don't stop going to the movies, and you just need to give them something to go see.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what Barbie did so well. They made going to see Barbie an event, and it was suddenly a big thing you had to go see. And Nolan with Oppenheimer, he made it so that you can't watch it at home. It's not going to be the same experience because he filmed it on like fucking 24 million K cameras that cost him $1 jillion.
I'm just saying, dude. This year is Spider-Verse, Oppenheimer, Barbie, Godzilla -1, Boy and the Heron.
It's a good year for movies, man.
It's a pretty solid movie year.
It's a good year for movies.
It's kind of ending on a little bit of a wet fart note of like.
Well, typically Christmas isn't like the blockbuster.
There's usually something big in December though. There's like not a whole lot going on.
I mean, I think Wish was supposed to be it.
It's true.
And it's just not. It landed like a wet fart.
That's true. It is what it was supposed to be. Probably
like a turd in the wind.
You're hitting me with Venom? I wasn't ready for Venom. I was not ready for 18 inches of Venom.
Oh, buddy.
Is 18 inches or 19 inches?
Who cares? It's a lot of dick. I think that's it for Godzilla -1. I know we've talked about a lot of other things around this movie, but it's truly an amazing masterpiece. It is one of as a sufferer of like severe ADHD, I grade a watching experience based on how often I pulled out my phone just to check it. I'm not like on my phone. I'm not that asshole at the theater, but I like absentmindedly check my phone whenever my mind wanders. That never happened during this movie. That's only happened 4 or 5 other times in my life watching things. My favorite is the underwater episode of BoJack Horseman. But this movie was so fucking incredible. I was glued to the screen for the entirety of it, and I do not regret a single minute of it. It was so fucking well done. Everything about this, the acting was absolutely phenomenal. The story is a breath of fresh air in an industry that really fucking needs one right now. And the visual effects, especially for being on such a tiny budget, are really well done. This movie is just phenomenal. Please just go see it.
The one thing that I was going to bring up and I almost forgot about it is I think the difference between Godzilla Japan versus Godzilla in America is I think that there's a bit of a culture difference to it where
I mean, for sure, yeah.
Japan has a little bit more of like every Godzilla movie from Japan is sort of there's eventually a collective that forms towards the end that's like, we need to all work together to stop Godzilla, and it's more about Japan uniting and being like, we gotta fix this, and it's more of like, and I think a lot of it is Japan has this collectivist approach on society, and America has a very individualist look on society.
Yeah.
And every Godzilla movie in America is totally like either Godzilla's the super cool thing and it kills the monster, or there's like one family that's really important that is in the Godzilla movie and it kind of misses the point.
Mm-hmm.
That if you want to see a movie about everybody in Japan telling one guy to kill himself a bunch, and then at the very end going, actually, you shouldn't kill yourself, and then they kill Godzilla, you should watch this movie.
Yeah.
But on that note, it's a great movie. It's a great movie. You should see it.
Yeah. Thank you for sticking with us throughout this entirety of the TB&J podcast. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Final letter grade, Troy.
I think I'm probably giving it an A.
I'm also A.
Yeah.
I'm also A.
I was gonna give it A- for the joke, but I don't think I can. I don't want to give it an A-.
No, this is definitely an A. Solid A. It's not A+. It's not S tier.
Sure,
but it's A. It's solidly A. Thank you once again for listening to the TB&J podcast. If you liked us, leave us a kind review on your favorite podcasting platform. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a subscribe. Give us all of the fun things that make this worth my time.
If you give enough likes and make us popular enough, maybe we can get Godzilla to guest star in an episode.
You know what? I think he'd do it anyway.
You think so?
You know what? I think I know his agent. I could just shoot him an email.
Oh.
I'd just be like, hey, bud.
I'm kind of glad that we're not getting him on this one because it wouldn't be like, and I feel like that's a little too like, hey, it's the movie you're in. I feel like he's a little bit more humble than that. I feel like we could maybe get him on Boy and the Heron, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think he's a deeply cultural guy.
What about, like, when Invincible comes back?
I think he enjoys watching Invincible. It's a good couch show. Pop some popcorn. Like a turd in the wind.
All right.